Why do old people still wake up at 3 a.m.? And why is it that so many older adults wake up at 3 a.m. and then just stay awake? Not tossing and turning, just lying there, eyes open, mind racing. Meanwhile, the rest of the world is fast asleep. If that sounds familiar, you're not the only one. Waking up in the middle of the night like this happens way more often than people realize. And no, it's not just some random getting older thing. There's actually a lot more going on behind the scenes. In this video, we're diving into 5 real reasons why this happens and what those 3 a.m. wake-ups might actually mean. These aren't just surface-level guesses. We're talking about real changes in your body, your brain, and even your emotional life. Because waking up at 3 a.m. isn't just about sleep, it's a clue. We'll explore how your hormones shift, how your sleep patterns evolve, how your lifestyle plays a role, and how your emotions show up when everything else is quiet. This is about way more than just getting back to sleep. It's about understanding what your body might be trying to say. So stay with us, because by the end of this video, you might not just sleep better, you might actually feel better too. Reason 1, reduced melatonin. As we get older, one of the biggest changes that happens quietly inside the body is a natural drop in melatonin. You might not notice it right away, but it can have a big effect on your sleep. Melatonin is that gentle hormone that whispers to your brain, it's time to rest. It doesn't knock you out like a sleeping pill. It's more like a dimmer switch that helps your body ease into sleep. But as melatonin levels drop with age, your sleep can become lighter, more fragile, and much easier to disrupt. So even if you fall asleep just fine at night, you may find yourself stirring around 3 a.m., not because something's wrong, but because your brain is starting to drift toward wakefulness again. It's like someone slowly turned down the volume on your sleep. At first, this can feel scary. You might lie there thinking, why am I awake again? Is something wrong with me? Is this insomnia? And that anxiety only ramps things up. You check the time. You grab your phone. Your mind starts racing. Before you know it, you're wide awake and it's not even close to morning. But here's the thing. In many cases, this isn't a sign of illness or decline. It's simply change. Your body is adapting. And yes, it can be frustrating, but it's also something you can work with. Take Harold, for example. He's 72. For months, he kept waking up in the middle of the night and couldn't get back to sleep. He felt groggy during the day, worried about his memory, and started wondering if something was seriously wrong. But after chatting with his doctor and doing a bit of reading, he learned the truth. His melatonin levels had naturally decreased, just like they do for most people as they age. The early morning wake-ups weren't a red flag, they were part of the aging process. And once Harold understood that, everything shifted. He stopped panicking. He started making a few small changes. He made his bedroom darker, really dark. He got blackout curtains, covered the little glowing lights from electronics, even tossed a towel over his digital clock. He also gave up screen time before bed, no more TV or phone right before sleep. Instead, he started reading an old-fashioned paperback for an hour each night. But the biggest game changer? A simple morning walk. Just 15 minutes of sunlight first thing each day helped reset his internal clock. Within a few weeks, his sleep felt deeper. And even if he still woke up early sometimes, it didn't bother him as much because now he understood what was happening, and he knew how to handle it. That's the key. When you understand what your body's doing, you stop fighting it, you stop blaming yourself, and that's when real change becomes possible. Getting older doesn't mean giving up on good sleep. It just means finding a new rhythm. Your body still wants to rest, you just have to help it find its way back. Reason 2, advanced sleep phase. As we age, something important happens to our body's internal clock, our circadian rhythm. This is the system that tells us when to sleep and when to wake up, guiding our bodies through the natural cycles of the day. When we're younger, we might stay up late, feeling awake and alert, even into the late hours of the night. But as we get older, that rhythm often shifts. Suddenly, you might start feeling sleepy much earlier, around 8 or 9 p.m., and before you know it, your body is ready to rest. The problem, however, is that by the time the middle of the night rolls around, like 3 a.m., your body might already have gone through one full sleep cycle. So by the time the rest of the world is still deep in their dreams, you might find yourself wide awake, wondering what went wrong. Charles, 68, used to think he was suffering from insomnia. Every night without fail, he would go to bed at his usual time and fall asleep easily. But it wasn't long before he started waking up earlier and earlier. By 3 a.m., he was wide awake, staring at the ceiling, unable to fall back asleep. At first, he thought something was seriously wrong with him. Was he just not tired anymore? Or was it something worse, like an underlying health problem? He started to worry that he was developing a sleep disorder, but after talking to his doctor and doing some research on his own, he learned something surprising. His circadian rhythm was simply shifting with age. It wasn't a sign of insomnia or any kind of sickness. It was just a natural change in the way his body was functioning. And knowing that brought him a huge sense of relief. Once Charles understood what was happening, he didn't panic about waking up at 3 a.m. anymore. Instead, he realized he could adjust his routine to better fit his changing body. He started making small but powerful changes. For example, he made sure to wind down earlier in the evening. He began incorporating relaxing activities like reading, listening to soft music, or even stretching into his night routine, which helped him transition into sleep more naturally. He also found that dimming the lights in the evening helped his body understand that it was time to rest. This adjustment didn't happen overnight, but over time, Charles found himself sleeping more restfully and waking up feeling refreshed instead of frustrated by his early awakenings. This experience is more common than you might think. When you're younger, your body's rhythm is more flexible. It can stretch out into the late hours of the night and still function the next day. But as you age, your internal clock can shift earlier, making you feel ready to sleep long before midnight. And while this shift might cause some inconvenience when you wake up at 3 a.m., it's not something that should send you into a panic. Understanding this natural change can bring a sense of peace because it helps you realize that waking up early isn't necessarily a sign of a problem. It's simply a sign that your body's rhythm is adjusting to a new phase of life. By embracing this shift and adjusting your habits to fit it, like Charles did, you can actually improve your sleep quality. So if you're waking up at 3 a.m. and wondering why, just know it's not a sign of anything broken. It's your body's way of telling you it's adjusting to a new rhythm. And with just a few simple changes, you can feel more rested, more at ease, and more in sync with the natural cycles of your life. Reason 3, physical discomfort. As we get older, sleep often becomes more complicated than just following a routine of going to bed and waking up in the morning. There are many hidden factors that can quietly disrupt our sleep, things like chronic pain, nighttime bathroom trips, or side effects from medications. These disruptions might seem minor at first, but over time, they can seriously affect our ability to get a full, restful night's sleep. And often, they hit when our bodies are most vulnerable, right around 3 a.m. You might wake up not because you're naturally rested, but because something is pulling you out of deep sleep. And before you know it, you're wide awake, frustrated, and unsure why you can't get the sleep you used to. One of the biggest culprits of these early wake-ups is chronic pain. Whether it's arthritis, back pain, or another long-term condition, constant discomfort can make it hard to stay asleep. Even if you manage to fall asleep, the pain can wake you up in the middle of the night, leaving you restless and unable to fall back asleep. Similarly, the need to use the bathroom more frequently as we age can break up our sleep. These middle-of-the-night trips, especially if they happen often, disrupt your sleep cycle, keeping you from reaching that deeper, more restorative rest. And sometimes, the medications we take to manage health conditions can have side effects that interfere with sleep. Whether it's a medication that keeps you awake or one that causes you to get up more often, these little disruptions can add up to big problems with your overall sleep quality. Take Eleanor, for example, who's 76. She'd been waking up at 3 a.m. every night for months, thinking it was just a normal part of aging. But she didn't realize that her medications could be the culprit. After speaking with her doctor and adjusting her medication schedule, Eleanor saw a big difference. Her doctor helped her time her meds differently, taking the ones that kept her awake earlier in the day and saving the ones that helped with her pain for bedtime. As a result, she experienced fewer 3 a.m. wake-ups and slept more deeply through the night. Olener learned that sometimes the real cause of early morning wake-ups isn't aging, but the way our bodies react to the treatments we're using. A simple medication adjustment led to a major improvement in her sleep. The key takeaway here is that these issues, chronic pain, frequent bathroom trips, and medication side effects, don't just disrupt sleep. They can be managed. We often get so used to these small disruptions that we don't think to connect the dots. But by looking at the bigger picture, it becomes clear how these factors play a role in waking up earlier than we'd like. And the good news? These disruptions don't have to be permanent roadblocks to good sleep. With a little awareness and some small changes, you can improve your rest and reduce those frustrating 3 a.m. wake-ups. So if you're waking up at 3 a.m. and wondering why, take a moment to think about what might be happening in your life. Is chronic pain affecting your sleep? Are bathroom trips waking you up? Or could it be a medication side effect? Recognizing these underlying issues is the first step to better sleep. Like Eleanor, making small adjustments, whether it's adjusting your medication schedule or finding better ways to manage pain, can lead to a big improvement in sleep quality. Once you understand what's causing the wake-ups, you can work with your doctor to find a solution, and before you know it, you'll be getting the deep, restorative sleep you deserve. Reason 4. Lifestyle habits. After retirement, life tends to slow down in ways that we don't always anticipate, and that includes our daily routines. In many cases, our once bussy schedules of work, meetings, and constant activity give way to more free time. While that can feel like a welcome change, it can also bring some unexpected consequences, especially when it comes to sleep. With fewer responsibilities and less structure, things like earlier dinners, quieter evenings, and fewer demands on your time can cause your body's sleep cycle to shift. Your natural sleep window, which used to happen later in the evening, may now begin to move earlier without you even realizing it. And this shift is often what leads to those frustrating early morning wake-ups, waking up at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling, wondering why your body isn't keeping up with your old routine. Walter, 74, experienced this shift firsthand. After he retired, he found that his days were slower, less structured, and he naturally started eating earlier in the evening. With dinner being earlier and his evening activities winding down sooner, his body began to adjust to a new rhythm. What he didn't realize at first was that these small changes in his daily routine were actually pushing his sleep window earlier in the day. Walter had always been someone who enjoyed winding down late at night after a busy day of work. But now, with no work to return to, he felt a natural inclination to go to bed earlier. As a result, Walter found himself waking up consistently at 3 a.m., feeling wide awake, even though he didn't feel tired. His body had simply become accustomed to an earlier rhythm, but he didn't know how to fix it until he started noticing the pattern and made a few intentional changes. What Walter discovered was that it wasn't just about how early he went to bed, it was about keeping his body active and engaged later in the day. By staying active into the evening, whether it was taking a walk, working on a hobby, or even doing light household tasks, he found that he could push back his sleep window and reset his internal clock. Moving around more during the evening hours helped Walter feel naturally tired at a more typical bedtime, and that simple adjustment made all the difference. Instead of lying awake at 3 a.m., Walter started waking up at a more reasonable hour, feeling more rested and ready to take on the day. This experience highlights a critical point. Retirement, while wonderful in so many ways, often brings about changes in our habits that affect our sleep in ways we don't always notice. The earlier dinners, the quieter evenings, and the reduction in daily activity can all contribute to waking up earlier than we'd like. But the good news is that these changes are not permanent, they're just part of adjusting to a new lifestyle. The key to managing these shifts lies in understanding how your body's rhythm works and making small adjustments to your routine. Just like Walter, by staying active later in the day, you can shift your sleep pattern back to something that feels more natural, even in retirement. If you've been finding yourself waking up at 3 a.m. after retiring, it's likely not because there's something wrong with you. It's simply your body adjusting to the changes that come with a less structured lifestyle. And while it may take a little time to reset your internal clock, with a few small changes like staying active later, eating a bit later, and engaging in activities that keep your mind and body stimulated, you can shift your sleep window back to a more typical schedule. With patience and intention, you'll find that you can wake up at a reasonable hour again, feeling refreshed and more in tune with the rhythm of your new lifestyle. Reason 5. Emotional restlessness. Sometimes the reason we wake up in the middle of the night isn't just physical, it's emotional. As we age, those quiet early morning hours can bring up feelings we've pushed aside during the day. Old memories, grief, loneliness, or worries about the future often rise to the surface in the stillness of the night. It's like the silence gives us permission to feel emotions we buried, whether we realize it or not. And for many older adults, those early morning hours can become a time of emotional reckoning, where feelings that are usually hidden come rushing in. Gloria, 80, found herself waking up at 3 a.m., night after night, overwhelmed by emotions. Her thoughts always turned to her late husband, and the grief of losing him felt more intense during those quiet hours. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't escape those memories. The darkness only made her sadness feel heavier. It wasn't just physical restlessness. Her heart needed healing. These early wake-ups weren't a sign of something wrong with her body. They were a sign that her emotions needed attention. What Gloria did next was simple but powerful. She started journaling. Each morning, she'd take a few minutes to write down her thoughts and feelings. This helped her process her grief and gave her a way to release the emotions that had been weighing on her. Writing allowed her to reflect on her memories and understand the depth of her feelings. Along with journaling, Gloria played calming music in the morning. The familiar tunes brought comfort, helping her feel grounded and less alone. The music filled the silence, providing a gentle space to begin her day with peace. Gloria's story shows how small changes in her routine made a big difference. Journaling and soothing music gave her the space to process her emotions, helping her find peace during those early mornings. It didn't make the grief disappear, but it gave her a way to cope, to hold on to something when everything else felt uncertain. Sometimes the reason we can't sleep through the night isn't because of physical discomfort. It's because our hearts are trying to process emotions we've neglected. Acknowledging these feelings and finding ways to express them can help you regain control over your sleep and emotional well-being. If you wake up at 3 a.m. with overwhelming thoughts, know you're not alone. Like Gloria, you can find ways to manage this emotional wakefulness. Journaling, listening to calming music, or simply reflecting on your emotions can turn these early moments into opportunities for healing. It's not about ignoring your feelings, it's about making space for them and understanding that it's okay to feel, whether it's grief, loneliness, or joy. You deserve that space, and it can make all the difference in how you approach your nights and your days. Conclusion. Take a moment and think. Which of these reasons feels most familiar to you? Is it something physical like a shift in hormones or pain? Or maybe it's emotional, something that only surfaces in the quiet of the night? Or perhaps it's a change in routine, like the peace that comes after retirement. Whatever it is, remember this: waking up at 3 a.m. doesn't mean something's broken in your body. In fact, it might just mean your body is still adjusting, still responding to its changing needs. Our bodies go through natural cycles, and sometimes those early morning wake-ups are simply part of that process. But here's the good news. With a little awareness and some small adjustments, you can turn those frustrating early wake-ups into moments of peace and healing. Whether it's journaling, staying active later in the day, or simply understanding that it's a natural change, small shifts can lead to a better night's rest. If this video resonated with you and you're ready to reclaim your sleep, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who could use a little extra help getting the rest they deserve. We're all in this together. So let's take control of those restless nights and start sleeping better. Thanks for watching, and take care of yourself.
Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. Your health matters, and I'm glad you're here on this journey with us. If you found this information helpful, please give it a like, share it with someone who might benefit, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you never miss out on new tips and advice for better health. Let me know your thoughts or questions in the comments below. See you in the next video.